You know, I agree with my colleague from La Cañada who, gave his non-credentials, and I'm glad that I got to hear a reminder and refresher on constitutional law, the great words on the Statue of Liberty, Plymouth Rock. But let me just say, this is not a partisan issue. Every member of my family served in the military but me. World War II, Vietnam, Korea. My nephew, 10 years younger than me, just retired after 20 years. He did 2 tours in Iraq. I have Republicans and Democrats in my family. Yesterday, I spent the day at a forum where people were learning their rights. And if this were about vetting, then there's a discussion to be had in the proper way with Congress and the administration, as if we don't have a system already in place. We do. We do. And by the way, the people I spent 2 hours with yesterday in City Heights, with people speaking 85 different languages and dialects, certainly people from Somalia and Sudan there, they follow the rules. They've been following the rules. They've been filling out the paperwork. They've been talking to immigration attorneys. They're doing the paperwork. They're cobbling together their precious resources from family. And they're following the rules, and it has taken a long time. This process is not something that happens overnight. It takes years in many cases. And so what do you tell the people who've been following the rules, much like my colleague's family, obviously, to be here in this great country, to have the opportunities that we all want for our own kids? That's what they want. They want safety. They want to come here because they think we're one of the safest countries in the world. They want to be here to have opportunities. You know, and yesterday, I mean, I can't help. I just, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican when it comes to people in need. I focus on emotion. I focus on what my family taught me. And again, my colleague who talked about the lessons he learned in the Bible. I'm pretty sure I just said to my colleague that Jesus, Mary, and Joseph were Middle Eastern. So, what are we doing when we debate some of these things? And really, there is a system in place. People are following the system, and they're being stopped in their tracks. Yesterday, I was touched because in the middle of this 2.5-hour forum, by the way, there were almost 200 people there, there was a teacher who showed up and spent her beautiful Sunday in San Diego at a 2.5-hour session because she teaches kids from Syria who are worried. She's trying to figure out how to help her students be able to pay attention and listen and to learn the thing that their parents want them to be able to do. And in the middle of this 2.5, almost 3-hour session, we had to stop because there were calls to prayer. And the men went one way and the women went another. And friends of this community served us all food because they knew that we were going to be waiting for a little while. I would urge us to really think about an action that needed to happen so quickly, overnight, to really, really impact so many real people. My chief of staff wouldn't be here today if we hadn't let his mother immigrate 50 years ago. And she lived on beaches, not for fun, but because that's where they had to be while they waited to be processed. And there were hurricanes and typhoons and bad weather. So I ask us to tap into our humanity. We are not suggesting that we lax our national security. In fact, it is stronger than it has ever been. And if there needs to be a national discussion about vetting, let's do it across party lines. Let's do it in the way that our forefathers intended for us to do it, with a dialogue and a discussion about real issues as opposed to perceived threats. I support this resolution. I read every word of it, and I felt compelled to stand mainly because of the emotion I felt yesterday amongst my constituents who were calling out for us to please explain what is happening. Why this all of a sudden? Help us understand what we now need to do. Help us continue to follow the rules, because we will. But don't expect us to expend our precious resources only to be sent back having spent that money and no longer able to be able to realize the dreams that we have. I support this resolution. Urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Atkins.